Hello, UCLA Radio. This is Dr. No, and we are going to do our interview with Gustavo Arellano right now. So let's make the call and hope the internet, the phone coverage or whatever it is working. So here we go.
This is Gustavo.
Hello, Gustavo. It's Reggie.
Hey, what's up, man?
Oh, not much. We're just gonna get ready to start the interview.
Sure, let's do it.
All right, sweet. Okay, well, your latest book, Taco USA, How Mexican Food Conquered America, was published in April. Can you tell our listeners about it and, like, what prompted you to write about it? Well, the topic,
Yeah,
I think.
so Taco USA came out last April, then it came out as paperback earlier this year. I think around April or May. But it's a history of Mexican food in the United States and the various ways Mexican food has taken over the country, from tequila to Taco Bell to hot sauce, tortillas, burritos, really everything and anything.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. It's funny because, like, it seems like, I don't know, because, like, to somebody like me, like, I don't, like, give food much thought. I just eat it, but it's crazy.
Well, most people do, yeah. You never think about food, you just want to eat.
Yeah, it's just, like, it's amazing that, like, you could, like, write about it in depth and, like, the history behind it.
Concentrate, right? While having all this Mexican food is almost impossible.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, it's just crazy. But yeah, and well, were there any well, what were some like interesting things you found about how Mexican food tied into like history or like?
Well, the most important thing for me was I had the assumption that, like most people do, that Mexican food in the United States was only popular in the American Southwest until very recently. But as I discovered, Mexican food has been popular in this country as long as there's been a Mexico and the United States. Officially, we've been in love with with Mexican food now about 125 years.
I see. Yeah, and that's crazy because what's it called? Like, I mean, you just see like how popular Mexican food is. Like, I mean, like now everybody like everybody knows about like tacos, and then like you have like like white people just going, oh, I love tacos, it's just funny and like just having debates about the different kinds, and you're like, oh wow, it's just crazy to me. Yeah, and so moving along, you are a lifelong resident of Orange County. What was growing up there like for you?
Born and raised. Honestly, there was nothing strange. For me, the Orange County that I grew up in was atypical in the sense that it didn't conform to all the stereotypes people have about us as a haven for rich, wealthy, crazy white people. I grew up mostly surrounded by Mexicans, and those people who weren't Mexicans were all immigrants, whether they were white Romanian refugees, Cambodian, or Laotian immigrants, or black people, quote unquote blacks from countries in Africa. And so growing up, it was just like I would say any other American kid or kid growing up here in the United States. I didn't realize what kind of crazy area I lived in until college, once I started realizing not only what were the stereotypes of folks in Orange County, that they were true, but that they were also they dominated the county.
Oh wow! And if you don't mind me asking, which particular city did you grow up in? Santa Ana?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I grew up in Santa Ana, so right by there.
Yeah, I know that's not now.
Yeah, and so and this was like this was like I don't know, I'm assuming this was like you grew up like in the 80s, like when the first big waves of like Mexican Hispanic immigrants started coming in. So yeah, and I don't know, that's when my mother first came here too, actually. So like yeah, and like what's it called? So I assume you grew up speaking Spanish. I didn't, because what's it called? Well, my mother, like, she didn't. What's it called? Like, I guess she didn't. Well, she said she didn't think that people would use Spanish so much. She just assumed all Hispanic immigrants would assimilate, and so I don't speak Spanish at all. So it's just kind of like backfired, and so yeah.
Yeah, no, my first language was Spanish. I entered it, or I spoke it entering kindergarten, and eventually I learned English somewhere along the way, because here I am speaking to you in English. I still know how to speak Spanish. It's not, I can have a conversation with any Spanish speaker, let's put it that way, and get conversation, but I'm sure they'll say, oh, you speak with an accent, or you don't use the right words, but whatever,
Yeah.
Doesn't matter to me. As long as I can speak it somehow, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you get your message across. It shouldn't matter. Yeah. And so you talk about how your website that, well, obviously both of your parents are Mexican, as we talked about, but your parents was illegal also. And did your parents' status have any effect, significant effect on your life or outlook?
It's always taught me that I really don't distinguish, at least when thinking about people, between legal and illegal immigrants. For me, they're just immigrants. Obviously, their lack of papers adversely affects them here in the United States. But as humans and as people with potential, they're fine. My dad came here as an illegal immigrant. He made a good life for himself, and so most of the illegal immigrants that I've known have had that same trajectory. My dad's not an exception. He's really the rule to all this. So my heart and mind's always going to be on the side of undocumented folks because I know the content of their character, and I know they're great. They're not the demons that people try to make them out to be.
Yeah, what's it called? It's fun, like, I don't know, it's just funny, like, you have, like, different stereotypes about them, like, the immigrants are lazy, and then conversely you have, oh, they're taking our jobs, so it's just really contradictory, and, when we're talking about, like, illegal immigration, I'm curious, because, like, people are, like, talking about, like, the idea of, Mexican immigrants coming here and, like, applying to be, like, trying to qualify to be refugees, from the drug war, the drug war back there. Do you have any thoughts on that? Like, do you have insights, anything?
Yeah, I completely agree with it. There are people who have been run out of where they're from because there is actual terrorism. I've heard of people fleeing because the drug cartels threaten their lives. That's not a refugee. If that's not somebody perfect for refugee status, then I don't know what is. But people just assume, oh, that can't possibly be true because Mexicans are always trying to come into this country, blah, 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 blah. It's true, though. It's absolutely true.
Yeah, it's just insane, like, how I guess, like, I haven't been there since, I was in sophomore year in high school, but, like, just how, like, bad it seems to have gotten, like, with the drug war. Like, really escalated, and, like, it's really, disturbing, and what's it called? Yeah. And also, like, it's gotten so bad that you have, like, people, like, you have, like, the citizens forming militias, you're not supposed to, it's supposed to be really hard to get a gun in Mexico, but yeah, you have people, like, arming themselves, like we're going to defend ourselves against the cartels, and they're like, it's crazy. Do you have any thoughts about that, like, why, what's it called, like, well, I don't know, like, it's just funny because, like, you're not supposed to be able to get a gun so easily in Mexico, but yet we have these people doing that,
Yeah. Yeah, ask that question again, sorry?
Like, do you have any thoughts about, like, why it's so, like, it's supposed to be hard to get a gun in Mexico, like, it's like, it's not even part of the Constitution anymore, but yeah, people are just like, oh, well, we're getting, we don't care, we're going to get them anyway,
it's going to be gotten. You can get anything in Mexico. You just need to know who's the right person to ask and how much you have to give.
I see.
But the same thing happens here in the United States. If I want to buy an AK-47, almost anything. If I want to buy an AK-47, I can go find it right now. I can at least find the parts. If I need to buy an AR-15 or just an illegal gun, it can happen. Money talks. Money talks.
That's true. That's very true.
Mexican thing,
That's very true. Yeah, and so, well, then this also ties into my next question. When you were growing up, did you feel closely connected to Mexico and the events occurring there? Just like,
events occurring there, it's always in your mind, but like on our end, there was no all the connection to Mexico was here because from the villages where my parents were from, they were all up here in the United States. They had been completely emptied out.
I see. And so called, I don't know. It's interesting because, like, it's just contrast with me because I'm talking from my own experience. Like, I didn't feel particularly close to Mexico. I was Mexican growing up, but I didn't, like, it was like, oh, Mexico, it's there, But I don't know. It's just interesting. I feel like there are a lot of, like, immigrants, not just from Mexico, like from different countries, who, like, they come here and then they just, like, forget about their whatever goes on in the country. They go, oh, whatever,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
Yeah. It doesn't. Whether you spent time in Mexico or not, or whether you ever gave thought to it or not, some people say, oh, because you didn't grow up in Mexico, you're going to spend that much time in Mexico. That somehow makes you less Mexican. But the great thing about Mexican American identity is it's so Spanish
Mm-hmm.
or any Spanish at all, they still identify as 100% Mexican. That's fine. Similarly, you can have someone who's bilingual like myself and say, "Oh, I'm not Mexican. I'm 100% American." Blah blah blah. Both of those are fine. It really doesn't matter. People annoy me when they start putting these parameters around identity because identity is just so fluid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, and it's just like about it being identity being fluid. Like it's funny because you have like white looking Mexicans. They're Mexican, but their skin's white. You know, maybe they're Spanish or something.
Exactly.
And then Louis C.K. The comedian talks about this. Like he says that people white people come and talk and come up to him and talk about complain about illegal immigrants, and he'll be like, actually I'm Mexican, and they're like, oh well, like they'll backpedal, you know, like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, you know. It's just funny, like how it's just perceived that way, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, especially with Mexicans. I mean, with immigrant communities, with immigrant communities, there's always going to be hyper ethnicity, which means that some people are always going to try to prove themselves to be more "quote unquote" authentic than other folks. And if you don't subscribe to their beliefs, they're going to start looking down on you and call you a sellout, a coconut, a vendido, all sorts of nasty stuff.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. That's silly though that you'd say that. You know, I mean, why would you think that? And so now moving on to OC Weekly, can you tell us about the origins of that? Like how it came together?
OC Weekly was started in 1995 by a group of individuals, a couple of them who are still here at the paper, and it was created to give a voice to the cool people of Orange County, or the people who just did not identify with the Orange County Register, mostly young people, young liberal folks.
Mm-hmm. And what's it called? And have you been editor in chief since then? When it started?
No. I started around officially 2000. In 2003 officially. I've only been editor since
Okay.
end of 2011.
Okay, cool. How did you become editor in chief?
I got promoted.
Oh, cool. That's sweet. That's really awesome. And what's it called? It's fun. Well, back when it was first established, this was back in, like you said, 1995, when computers were still relatively new.
They were ancient, I'm sure. I don't know how they did it back then.
Yeah. And so to the public, everybody was like, "Oh my god, this is so cool!" And you knew, it was super slow, but it was just the most amazing thing. And so since then, the internet's advanced rapidly. You have so much different so you can it's just really very capable of advanced stuff. And so would you say the format or the content of the paper has been significantly changed by the internet? I mean,
Only in the sense that we write more now. We have obviously a Facebook and Twitter presence, but ultimately we're still looking for the best stories in Orange County, and we're still looking to tell those stories. That mission has never changed.
Oh, okay, sweet. That's good. And it's funny. Well, no, it's not funny. I'm sorry. It's just the paper has a lot of negative coverage of Republicans but it also criticizes Democrats fairly often.
We criticize everyone. If you're doing bad things, we will go after you. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. We really don't care for labels. People always try to peg us as a liberal publication, and sure, those of us on staff are mostly politically on the left, but just because we are doesn't mean we're not going to call people out on their crap. A criminal is a criminal is a criminal. And if we ignore the malfeasance of the Democrats simply because they're liberal, then we would not be a real publication. We would be a hack publication.
Well, that's really good to hear. We need more what's it called papers like you guys.
We're not. I wouldn't call ourselves objective. We do have our biases, but we're not going to. Unlike other people, we're not going to let our biases get in the way of the truth. The truth is paramount to everything that we do.
I'm into that. Yes, and you speaking of covering corruption and scandals, you guys you had notable very prominent coverage of the fall from grace of Sheriff Mike Corona, former Sheriff Mike Corona. What was that particular experience for the OC Weekly staff? Were you involved in it, or was it just others?
With Corona, no, that was all Scott Moxley. I was there around the time, yes, but. I remember, Corona was totally corrupt. No one wanted to believe us, except we just continued doing it, specifically Scott Moxley. And look what happened.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So it was like all the president's men for you guys, except all the
exactly,
sheriff's men. But yeah,
exactly.
that's just crazy. And so and well now this is like probably probably the super big part of the interview. In 2004, you published the first Ask a Mexican column, and
Mm-hmm.
it was supposed to be a one shot thing, but it became very popular, and you've been doing it ever since. So did you have any reason to believe it would be like so successful?
Never, not in a million years. We figured it was going to be a one-time joke column. We published it. Then we realized a lot of people reacted to it. As a reporter, you always want reactions, whether good
Mm-hmm.
or bad. But still, it was supposed to be just a joke column. Then one day we decided not to run it, and then we got more letters than ever before. No, no, we want to ask a Mexican. Keep it, blah, blah, blah. Never imagined that in a million years. I never imagined it would ever be syndicated. Never imagined it would be turned into a book. None of that. I am lucky beyond belief to be able to do this or to have gotten so much attention for it.
Yeah, it is. What's it called? That's really awesome. Just like you're writing something, and then you're like, oh, that'll be it. And then all of a sudden it just blows up, and you're like, oh my god, like wow. Well, when you wrote that first column, were you worried of like any possible controversy or backlash towards the columns?
No, I didn't care about controversy or backlash because as long as I was able to stand by what I wrote, I'd be fine. And yeah, people got upset by it, but whatever. My editor stood by me, and we did it.
Well,
Yeah, what I would tell writers is if you're not willing to stand by what you write, then you shouldn't be a writer, or you should not write that particular story and get there to get yourself to the point where you can stand by what you write.
I see. Well, what were some of the complaints or things that made people upset
That
about
it
it?
was racist against white people, that it was racist against Mexicans, that it was not funny. Any complaint you could imagine was told. We expected that, of course. Whenever you write about Mexicans, it's always going to happen. What we didn't expect, though, was for people to actually start sending in questions.
I see. I see. Yeah, and well, when you write the column, does it feel like you're writing just another article for the paper, or do you feel like you have to take on the persona of the Mexican? Like, does it feel different, dramatically different than writing a regular story?
No, I don't assume, like, I don't put on a sombrero and then become, hey, it's Ask a Mexican. It's just me. I write the column the way I see fit, and people like it, cool. If not, better.
I see. I see. Yeah, it's just funny because like when I became familiar with your work through the book version of it,
Yeah.
and what's it called? Like, I mean, like I know because there's a guy writing it, but like the character just like it like really like came out. Like I could imagine just the guy with a big grin and like sombrero, like sitting at the computer typing, answer the question. It was just like it was just very like it seemed, I don't know why but it seemed very real to me. Yeah, but yeah. And well, like speaking of the book, was writing and putting the book together was that like like significantly different for you than just writing, putting together the column? Did you prefer it?
Well, for Ask a Mexican, no, because it was a compilation of columns I had already done before, and then
Mm-hmm.
everything else was just more questions that I answered specifically for the book, and I just went from there. So, I mean, not that, but then my other books, Orange County and Taco USA, yeah, that's a different format because it's no longer columns. You're trying to write long, chapters that all connect to each other, and that's much more difficult than just writing a column.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so, well, what is the craziest question the Mexican has ever been asked?
Oh, geez. Take your pick. Everything from, is it true that George W. Bush's grandfather stole the head of Pancho Villa to, why are Mexicans always so damn happy to why do Mexicans like to throw their kids into swimming pools when they don't know how to swim? If you could imagine it, I have answered it.
Well, this is a good time to ask then. Did George W. Bush's grandfather steal it?
George W. Bush's grandfather, Prescott Bush, did not steal the head of Pancho Villa. I'm sorry to break it to all your listeners, but no.
What's it called? Well, they'll get over it.
Hopefully it doesn't disappoint them too much.
I'm sure they'll be fine now.
Yeah.
what's it called? So yeah, and well just last week last Saturday was it was Dia de Muertos, or Day of the Dead. And there's a big event in downtown Santa Ana celebrating it. Can you explain the significance of this holiday to like the significance of it to Mexicans, and like the parallels between it and the Christian All Hallows Eve, All Saints Day, and All Souls
Yeah,
Day?
Dia de los Muertos is actually it's a syncretized Catholic and a holiday made of Catholic and indigenous traditions. The Catholic part is it's celebrated on All Souls Day, so right after All Hallows Day, it's All Souls Day, and then from the indigenous traditions, there's in worship of the dead in Mexico for thousands of years. So every year, a lot of Mexicans set up altares, altars, in commemorating those who have passed on.
I see. And what's the wait? And so like well, like I don't know. It's just it ties into the whole I guess the fact of Mexican Catholicism, like being kind of syncretized with the Aztec and like other,
Absolutely.
yeah, Aztec religions.
All of Catholicism is ultimately like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mexican Catholicism is probably most famous for its synchronization, but that's the genius of Catholicism. They always absorb the old gods and turn them into saints and saints.
It's fun. It's cool that you say it, because like I realize that as like I've done research about Catholicism, and I talk, and then like I get people saying, "Oh, Mexican Catholicism is just like paganism," like with a veneer of Catholic. I'm like, well, actually, that's all Catholicism. It's not just the Mexicans,
Yeah.
It's like don't just pick on us, But yeah, and moving along. If you're writing this anything to go by, you're not too fond of the word gringo and use the word gabacho instead. Well, why do you prefer that term?
Well, you got to teach Americans other words about themselves. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
You just got to teach Americans other words that Mexicans call them.
I see. And what's it called? I'm sure I've read it before, but you've addressed it before, and I'm pretty sure I read it, but I don't know. I'm not familiar with what gabacho it means. If there's an actual translation, do you think you could tell our listeners and what it means?
Yeah, gabacho is just a synonym for gringo. That's all.
I see.
It's just a different way of saying it.
Well, that's fun. Yeah. And what's it called? It's about Gringo. It's funny because like I don't know. I read. I don't know if you've been keeping tabs on like this NSA spying scandal, and it turns out that the NSA was like hacking into Felipe Calderon's email, and like he was like, well, naturally he was upset, he wanted to Twitter, and then he's just like all like complaining, and like he calls the Americans gringos, and it's just like it's just really funny that like it's just weird because like how you say, well, like you go like, oh well, gringo, like you hear the word gringo so much like you wouldn't even expect to actually hear a Mexican say it, and then you have the former president of Mexico saying it like on Twitter for like the whole world to see. It's really funny. It's really funny to me, It's just
people say I exaggerate, but I know it's true. It happens.
Yeah, well, then what's it called? And you have the president of former president of Mexico confirming it for you, so it's pretty awesome. Yeah, and you correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you maintain there is a difference between Latinos and Chicanos, and what is that difference?
Well, Latinos are anyone who traces their heritage back to Latin America, which is of course the Spanish and Portuguese speaking countries of North, Central, and South America, along with the Caribbean. And a Chicano is somebody of Mexican American descent who grew up here in the United States. So it's a world of difference. I mean, Latinos can be Chicanos. All Chicanos are Latinos. Not all Latinos are Chicanos.
I see. So well then, are you a Chicano then?
Sometimes I feel like a Chicano. Yeah. Again, as I said earlier, that's the great thing about identity. Mexican American identity is so fluid. Sometimes I feel like a Chicano. Sometimes I feel like a Mexican. Sometimes I feel like an American. I always feel like a nerd. It all depends. We all have different identities.
Yeah, that makes sense then. It's called. I don't know, it's just interesting. Like, it's interesting how different Chicano culture seems to be from like actual Mexican culture. Like Chicanos, like you have like the people with the hot rods and they spray paint them and stuff, and then like the street art.
Well, no, Chicanos do not do hot rods. They do lowriders.
Sorry, I'm like
hot rods, Corvettes, and Grand Dams, and all Monday, of course.
Sorry, that's like this is how disconnected I am from it. So
It's
like,
all good, man. Don't worry about it. You're learning. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
yeah. Well, in addition to your work with OC Weekly, you're also a lecturer at Cal State University Fullerton. What is that like?
Mm-hmm.
What's teaching like for you?
It's great. I love teaching classes for students. Get in contact with a new generation of people who want to make a difference in this world. So I'm not teaching this semester. I'll probably teach next semester. Just because I have a full-time job, I'm busy. So, but any chance I have to teach, I always take it.
I see. And when you were in school, like doing homework, say like what's it called, say in class, did you foresee yourself ever becoming like teaching at a university or anything?
Nope. Nah, I had no idea what I wanted to do when I was young.
Mm-hmm.
All I knew is it had to involve me reading a lot.
Oh, okay. Well then, being a lecturer sounds like what's it called? Actually,
You gotta read a lot, man.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and you get paid for it too.
I know. Imagine that.
It's pretty sweet. And well, is there any chance that we'll be seeing you teaching a course up here at UCLA?
I taught back in. You know, UCLA is my alma mater, right?
Actually, I don't think I knew
got my
that.
master's degree in 2000.
Oh wow, that's sweet.
Amazing. I taught in 2011. I love my experience there, but it's just too far from you. I can't do it regularly. Maybe every once in a while.
I see.
Yeah, not regularly. It's a wonderful school, though.
Yeah, it is kind of it is nice, but it is kind of a hassle getting up here. Like, I mean, even if you live like in Orange County, it's just like it's just crazy. Like, but yeah, and well, over the course of your career, whether like it be for OC Weekly or CSU Fullerton, what would you say has been your greatest achievement?
My greatest achievement is, just being able to make a career out of spewing crap, I guess. That's the best way to put it. Being able to get a job at this awesome paper and being able to just, tasked with the responsibility of writing great articles and now, helping writers create great articles.
I see. And when you say stealing crap, do you mean like reading like books and stuff, and then like applying that or analyzing it, like?
I guess. When I say spewing crap, of course, I'm being facetious, but just doing the stories that I do. I just want to do the stories that I do, and for me, those are stories that no one else is telling, and just going from there.
Oh wow, well, that's an awesome, what's it called? That's an awesome thing that you've gotten to do that, like all over your career. That's just awesome.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and then well, what has there been a particularly interesting story that you've written about, like at OC Weekly, that you probably are like most proud of it?
My reporting on the Catholic Church sex abuse scandal.
Oh, I see.
Definitely. I mean, at the very least, I know that I helped sex abuse survivors cope through their pain. So their words mean the world to me. At the very least, I can say that, hey, I helped out people who needed help when no one else was paying attention to them.
Oh
so
wow.
That's an accomplishment for me, at least.
I see. So what's it called? Well, do you feel that like about that, like, do you feel that whole scandal has dramatic? Well, I mean, like, we know it had like wide repercussions, like in the United States, like especially among like non-Hispanics. But like, do you feel that it's been just as like devastating to the Hispanic community as it was for non-Hispanics?
Yeah, of course it was. A lot of Latinos were abused by priests, so yeah, a lot of Latinos were abused by priests. Of course, it's gonna affect the Latino community.
Oh yeah, I just asked that because I just realized, like, when that whole scandal's happening, it never was about Hispanic, like Hispanic priest or altar boys. It was always like I'm a Father Connolly or Father Benzi, like Italians and Irishmen, like they were like, it was that, but it was never like Hispanics. I didn't realize that. It's just crazy how it was reported that way. But yeah.
Yeah, no, here in Southern California, you had a lot of Latinos who were pedophile priests. Absolutely, you just have to pay
Yeah,
Of course, yeah, the mainstream media, yeah, it was always the Irish and Italian victims. And it made sense because the scandal first blew up in Boston, which has big Irish and Italian community.
I see. Yeah, yeah. Oh, just it's really sad and just like really devastating for not and for everybody. Just yeah, yeah. But unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. Like,
Yeah,
that's
no, I appreciate this.
yeah. Well, I appreciate this for like just you being able to do this. I mean, it's just really awesome. So yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Ariano, and I'll send you the interview, and yeah, you can hear it.
Yeah, for sure. Tweet it and all that good stuff, man.
Okay, sweet. All right, thank you.
Okay,
All right,
take care, man.
thank you very much. You too.
Okay.
Bye bye.